Om Vishnugada Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimad-Bhagavatam Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Vashata Deshata Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Vashata Deshata Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. जय विष्णुवाद प्रमंग शबरी प्राचार्य अष्टादश देशी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की जय विष्णुवाद प्रमंग शबरी राज भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती प्रभुपाद की गौर किशोर दास बाबा जी महाराज की भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की प्रेम गौ श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव शादी गौर भक्त बिंद की नाम श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की स्वर्ग स्वामी की मायापुर नवदीप धाम की मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की गंगा माई जमुना माई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की अनंत कटि वैष्णव वृंद की समस्त गौर भक्त वृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंद all glories to Samal devotee Hare Krishna, all glories to Samal devotee Hare Krishna, all glories to Samal devotee Hare Krishna, all glories to the Guru Guru Srila Prabhupada.
Okay, is this already?
Hare Prabhu.
Are you supposed to sit in the seat or not? These are sweet ones. This is loud. There's two kinds. There's two kinds. Well, this is not too. Okay. Yeah, really need to try. You're supposed to do kirtan now? Okay. I brought this one here. Maybe. I know you have your phones. I know that. But it was the theme of the verse today. Huh. This is Narottam Das Thakur. Hey, Baro Koruna Koro Vaishnava Goshai Vaishnava Goshai. You understand? Baro Koruna, what is that? Big mercy, Boro Koruna, not just little mercy, big mercy, please. Boro Koruna, who's that? Vaishnava Goshai, oh, Hey, Boro Koruna Koro Vaishnava Goshai Koruna Koro Patita Pavana Toma Bine Kehodai. Not too fast, not too fast. Patita Bine Kehodai. Yes. Jahar Nikate Gele Paap Ture Jai Jahar Nikate Gele Paap Ture Jai. You know Nikate, what does that mean? Near, yeah. Come when you go close to him, or her, when you go close, what happens? Pap Duri Jai. The sinful things go far away. Sins go far away. Hey, Mano Dayalu Prabhu Ke Bhakko Thapa. Gangara Parasa Hare Paschate Babam Gangara Parasa Hare Paschate Babam Dasale Pavitra Tomai Kumargun Dasale Pavitra Tomai Kumargun. Do you understand this part? Gangara Parasha Vaile. By breathing in the Ganges, you get, but just by seeing you, darshane, you get the same benefit. Hari sthane aparadhe Hare Harinam Hari sthane aparadhe Hare Harinam Thomas Hare Aparadhe Nahi Paritram Thomas Hridaye Sada Govinda Vishnu If you make an offense to Hari, Hare Harinam, you can get delivered by chanting the holy names. You follow me? Thomas Hare Aparade, when you offend you, Nahi Paritran, you're mess, you're finished. That's it. And then Tomara Hridaya Shara, in your heart, always, Govinda is there. Govinda Kohena, and Govinda says, I am in the heart of all my devotees. Govinda, I am the life of all my devotees. Then, Prati Janme Kori Asha Charanir Turi Prati Janme Kori Asha Charanir Koro Doya Apnar Acharya. Ashtotara Sutta Shishimu's Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prince Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shomaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Vinamane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Vishatadine. Hare Krishna. What's that?
We also do nothing of prayer.
Oh, okay. Do you want to do that? Yeah.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Rama Rama.
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Thank you very much again for coming to this Saturday program. So as you all see, we have our special guest. I'd like to welcome him on behalf of our Bensalem Bhakti Ruksha. A big Haribol!
Haribol!
Haribol! Haribol! Thank you very much, Vishnugada Prabhu.
Close by.
So I'll take just a couple of minutes to introduce him. I know you all know, but still, online I'm recording, so let's go to the recording. Thank you. Let me wear my specs. So His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu, as you all know, is one of the senior most disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, our ISKCON founder Acharya. And he has been in Krishna conscious movement for the past 50 plus years. Can you imagine? It is more than my age actually. So he's been in Krishna conscious. I mean, at the time, he was young, of course, youth. He was initiated by Srila Prabhupada himself in the year 1972. Correct me, Prabhu, if I'm wrong.
71.
71. That's why I want to confirm. 1971, which was very early stages of ISKCON movement. So he was in his youth at the time, and during Srila Prabhupada's presence on this planet, his main services were cooking at New York Temple at 55th Street, which at the time was a very big temple. Is it right, Prabhu?
No, that was 12 stories, 12-story building.
12-story building, yes. In New York, imagine.
15.
And he served for more than a decade as temple president at ISKCON Tobacco Temple, where he managed everything, including cooking, arti, kirtan, etc., and managed it through several challenges. He used to organize annual Gita Nagari kids camp for many, many years, by which many kids got inspired to follow Krishna conscious practices in their life. Recently, if you all can see that this year he restarted that. So it was very enthusiastic. We were there, my family were there, and many were there. Which was a great success, basically. Professionally, he is a psychologist with his tight schedule. For more than 2 decades, he managed to serve very diligently at ISKCON Philadelphia. More than 2 decades, right?
This since 1994.
1994, it's 3 decades actually, almost. 3 decades. So in various services, such as festivals, Sunday feast cooking, as Rath-Yatra chairman for many years, and Kirtan leader, and is a very eloquent preacher of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. He also served as ISKCON Philly's board for several years, and as a Sunday school teacher for a long time. So he wore many hats in his 50 plus years. Okay, so we are really indebted to him, as we know that even now at this age he is very actively leading all of us in various areas, and very soon Rath Yatra will be there. That is just a sample of his dedication. Rath Yatra, it's a great Rath Yatra on September 23rd, one of the best Rath Yatras in the East Coast. He is the example for that. Okay, he is our leader. So let's again welcome loudly by chanting 3 times Haribol.
Haribol! Haribol! Haribol!
So before I go there, I would like to welcome some new faces. For the first time they are coming here. And who is that? Prabhuji. Sorry, your name.
My name is Sunil.
Sunil. Mataji? Rohini. So Sunil Prabhu and Rohini Mataji. Big Haribol to them.
Haribol!
Thank you very much for coming. And Meena Mataji. We all know her, but she's coming here for the first time, so it's our customary to welcome her. Big Haribol to Vinamati, Haribol! Haribol. And Gautam Prabhu's grandson is also here. What is your name? Raga. Raga. Let's all welcome Raga Prabhu, Haribol! Haribol. And of course, Sweet Gauranga Prabhu. Thank you very much for playing Mridangam Prabhu. Sweet Gauranga Prabhu. Big Haribol Day! Haribol! Thank you very much. So, as you all know, we are in the Bhagavatam study, step-by-step study. So we are going very slow, but so today he will get us into Srimad Bhagavatam. 1 point. Do you remember what sloka we are? Anyone? 1.1.15. 15. Last time we did 14. Okay. So thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Just one correction though, that in the ISKCON, early ISKCON, there was the early devotees were like they joined up till the 1970, and then that was like the 26 2nd Avenue and 61 2nd Avenue, and then around 1970 that was the second wave. So really, there's a lot of devotees who were like the early ones. I'm not one of them. I'm in the second wave when there was like. When I joined the temple in New York, there's probably 150 devotees there at the time. So that's I'm not really that senior, although I'm older now, but still. Just a little point.
But in ISKCON Philly, you are the older.
Yeah, in ISKCON Philly, that's yeah.
Okay.
Just those things. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, 15th verse. Do we chant this responsibly or no, we don't do that?
Yes.
Okay. You have it on your phones maybe. 1:15. Okay.
We did the 15 last week.
What?
We did 15 last week, 16 today.
Well, he told me 15.
14 we did, I think.
We did 14 last week.
Read the 15th sloka.
Oh, probably we read, we didn't discuss though.
Yeah.
Aha. Anyway.
Anyway, it's okay.
Yeah, so.
We did?
Yatpada samshraya sutta
Yatpada samshraya sutta
Muniya prashamayana
Munaya prashamayana
Sadya punantyupaspishta
Sadya punantyupaspishta
Svadunya ponusevaya.
Swardunya vapunusevaya.
So one this little tidbit is that, there's at the end of line, there's this dot after the end of the H. You know that? How do you pronounce that? Huh?
Staha.
Aha.
Aha.
Yeah. Technically it's aha. You know what? I don't do that. Why? Why don't I do that? Because usually Srila Prabhupada didn't, even though it's technically correct. Sometimes he did, but usually he didn't. So that's why I don't do it. But it's okay to say it. It's fine. So just this point, little point. Yatpada samshraya sutta
Yatpada samshraya sutta
Muniya prashamayana
Munaya prashamaya
Sadya punantyupaspishta
Sadya punantupasrishta
Svadunya punusevaya
Dunya punasevaya
Yatpada samshraya sutta
Yatpada samshraya sutta
Muniya prashamayana
Munaya prashamaya
Sadya punantyupaspishta
Sadya punantupasrishta
Svadunya punusevaya.
Dunya punasevaya.
Please chant.
Yatpada samshaya sutta
Yatpada samsaya sutta
Munaya prashamayana
Munaya prashamayana
Satya punantyupasprishtha
Sadya punantyupaspishta
Swardhuneyo vapuanusevaya
Svadunya punusevaya. Sheshapati Govinda, come on.
Yatpada samsraya suta.
Yatpada
Oh, you changed the tune.
samshraya.
You changed the tune. Well, how you couldn't get the other tune? Wasn't okay? I know everybody else. They use that tune. I know. Okay, go ahead. Whatever. Go ahead.
Sorry. Muneha prasamayanaha.
Munaya Prashamayana
Sajya punanti upasprishta.
Sadya Punanti Upasprishta
Swaduni apo anusevaya.
Swadunya Punusevaya
Yatpada samsaya suta
Yatpada Samshaya Suta
Munaya prasamanaya
Munaya Prashamayana
Sadaya punati upastrasta
Sadya Punanti Upasprishta
Swaraduniya po anuseva
Swadunya Punusevaya. Ladies. Yatpada Samshaya Suta Munaya Prashamanaya Sadya Punanti Upasprishta Swadunya Punusevaya. One more, somebody, one more.
Yatpada samshaya suta.
Yatpada Samshaya Suta
Munaya prasamanaya.
Munaya Prashamanaya
Sadya punanti upasthishta.
Sadya Punanti Upasprishta
Sardhuni aponusevaya.
Swadunya Punusevaya. Synonyms: yet,
Yes.
whose,
Whose?
pada, lotus feet,
Lotus feet.
samshraya,
Samshraya.
those who have taken shelter of,
Those who have taken shelter of.
Suta,
Suta
O Suta Goswami,
O Suta Goswami
Munaya,
Munaya
great sages,
Great sages
Prashamayana,
Shamayana
absorbed in devotion to the Supreme,
absorbed in devotion to the Supreme
Sadhya,
Sadhya
at once,
at once
Punanti,
Punanti
sanctify,
sanctify
Upasprishta,
Upasprishta
simply by association,
simply by association
Svardhuni,
Swaduni
of the sacred Ganges,
of the sacred Ganges
Apa,
Abba
water,
water
Anusevaya,
Anusevaya
bringing into use.
bringing into use.
Translation: O Sutta.
Oh,
You want to? Okay, you can repeat it if you like. Everybody?
Yes.
Those great sages
those great sages
who have completely taken shelter
who have completely taken shelter
of the lotus feet of the Lord
of the lotus feet of the Lord
can at once sanctify
can at once sanctify
those who come in touch with them,
those who come in touch with them,
whereas the waters of the Ganges
whereas the waters of the Ganges
can sanctify
can sanctify
only after prolonged use.
only after prolonged use.
Okay, so without looking at your phones, can anybody tell me what the verse was about?
When devotees come in the association of the, when a person comes in the association of a pure devotee, they get sanctified immediately, whereas somebody who will get otherwise sanctified by prolonged use in the Ganges.
They make it by bathing in the Ganges. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. So we're not doing it just by rote, but we actually think about it. Yeah, okay, good. Good job. Purport. Pure devotees of the Lord are more powerful. You don't have to repeat. That's okay. Unless you really want to. Are more powerful than the waters of the sacred river Ganges. One can derive spiritual benefit out of prolonged use of the Ganges water, but one can be sanctified at once by the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that any person, regardless of birth, as Shudra, woman, or merchant, can take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, and by so doing can return to Godhead. To take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord means to take shelter of the pure devotees. The pure devotees whose only business is serving are honored by the names Prabhupada and Vishnupad, which indicate such devotees to be representatives of the lotus feet of the Lord. Anyone, therefore, who takes shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee by accepting the pure devotee as his spiritual master can be at once purified. Such devotees of the Lord are honored equally with the Lord because they are engaged in the most confidential service of the Lord. For they deliver out of the material world the fallen souls, whom the Lord wants to return home back to Godhead. Such pure devotees are better known as vice lords, according to the revealed scriptures. The sincere disciple of the pure devotee considers the spiritual master equal to the Lord, but always considers himself to be a humble servant of the servant of the Lord. This is the pure devotional path. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kata Mahyam Dadati Adantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to get permission from everyone, but all devotees, but particularly those who may be senior by age or advancement in Krishna consciousness. Kukulananda Prabhu, how old are you?
76.
Okay, so you're my senior then. You have to give me permission.
I've been following you since 75.
So this, we're in the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. But the reason I do that is because it's there's when Vidura was being instructed, there were two devotees there. One was Maitreya Muni and the other was Uddhava. So Uddhava was a very intimate associate of Lord Krishna. He was very advanced. But he said, no, I shouldn't speak. Maitreya is my senior in age, so he should be given first. So then one time we were on the Srimad Bhagavatam call, and there was a new devotee, Mother Shyama Gauri. So they asked her to give class, and so she called me up and says, "What am I supposed to do? There's all my seniors there." Because then she quoted this. She quoted part of the Srimad Bhagavatam that Maitreya Muni spoke instead of Uddhava, even though Vidura had actually asked Uddhava. So I said, "You got to ask permission." Then I said, "Well, what about me?" We don't see Srila Prabhupada did that because he was always senior, except actually when sometimes his senior godbrothers, he would come say, "Come sit with me," all like that. So it's a matter of, that's part of etiquette, respect, like that. It's not all, but we try, something like that. Yeah. So this first part of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's like incredible nectar, because this is our approach to the lotus feet of the Lord. The first two cantos are representing the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And it's imperative for us, all of us, to first approach Krishna not by going to the head, but by going to the feet. And it's very interesting that when Srila Prabhupada came to the West, he just brought actually the first canto with him, previously translated and commented on in India. And in the first several years, even when I joined, we only had the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, as our study, and it was wonderful. It's wonderful. And he used to say, everything you need to know is there in the first canto. He said that. So we were very interested and happy in studying this first canto. And who asked us to study Srimad Bhagavatam? Anybody? Yeah, the acharyas. Lord Chaitanya said, you should study Srimad Bhagavatam, and he also said, Bhagavata Paragiya Bhagavata Sthane. You know this? Bhagavata Paragiya Bhagavata Sthane. That if you really want to understand the Bhagavatam, you have to study it under someone who's a person Bhagavatam. There's the person Bhagavatam who follows the instructions, and there's also the book Bhagavatam. And if you really want to understand, you can't understand it just from someone who may be making a living out of it, but someone who actually tries to follow or is following strictly the rules and the guidance of Srimad Bhagavatam in their own life. So Lord Chaitanya was very strong, and he asked everyone to follow Srimad Bhagavatam, and he said, there's 18 Puranas, 6 in the mode of ignorance, 6 in the mode of passion, 6 in the mode of goodness, but Srimad Bhagavatam is called Amalam Purana. Yeah, this is the spotless Purana. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you've already gone through the first chapter. The first 3 verses are really, sometimes they're called the Mangalacharan, the first 3 verses. Janmadhyasya yaton vayadita ratas charte shabhigya swara tene brahma hridaya. Nice one. And then, what's the second verse? How does that start? Dharma prochita kaita vota paramo nimatsaranam satan. So, what's the end, what's the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita? Sarva dharman parityaja. That's after Lord Krishna speaks so much, 18 chapters, he comes to this verse. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. Give up all different kinds of dharma and surrender unto me. All these other dharmas. This is the real religion. So Srimad Bhagavatam begins where Bhagavad Gita leaves off. Dharma prochita kaitavo. Get rid of all those other religions, all this cheating kind of religion, and nirmatsaranam satam, and establish that supreme truth, which is the service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is really a wonderful introduction, this first part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes there's different Vedic teachers, and maybe some of you know Arya Samaj. You know Arya Samaj?
Yes.
So Arya Samaj that was Rishi Dayanand, and he was in the 19th century. So he said, don't give up all the Puranas, give up all these Itihasas, and only study the original 4 Vedas. He had his purposes, he had his reasons, but so he rejected the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Murti Puja, he rejected.
He also rejected Murti. I also rejected Murti Puja. There's a whole story behind that. We could tell you the story. You know that story?
Yeah.
Because he was a little boy, and he was in the temple of Lord Shiva at nighttime, and it was Shivaratri or something. And so they had some laddu on the altar, and there was the statue of Lord Shiva, and so he was there alone late at night, and some mice came and started eating the laddu. So, well, what kind of God is this that can't even keep his laddus safe? Of course, he didn't understand, because the Lord comes in his deity form, not just so he does stuff, but so we can serve him. That's our job, and it's the pujari's job, it's the devotees' our job to do that, not only to make the laddus, to offer them and then take them away and to serve prasadam. So anyway, he had his particular angle. Actually, he was a reaction, I don't know if you know this, he was a reaction to the Sahajanand Swami.
Yeah.
Did you know that? He was a reaction to that because Sahajanand Swami, who's more popularly known as Swami Narayan, he was supposed to be renunciated, but at a certain point he started wearing a kind of a crown and pagiri and fancy clothes and stuff like that. So he said, what is this? What is this? So anyway, we don't do this, we don't dress the sannyasis in crowns and things like this in ISKCON. Right? Anyway, I'm getting off the track. Where was I? Oh, because he rejected the Puranas and actually technically the Itihasas also, like Mahabharata. But we know that in the Chandogya Upanishad, which is one of the oldest Upanishads, part of the Vedas, it says that the Puranas and the Itihasas should be understood as the 5th Veda, Panchama Veda Uchyate. They should be accepted. So even in the Vedas themselves, it says you should accept the Puranas. And so Lord Chaitanya followed that. So the teachings of the Vedas are there, they're philosophical, they're good to it, but the explanation, the example is given in the Puranas and most explicitly in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam actually, like I said, it takes place right after the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata finishes. So some people, modern scholars, will say, well, Srimad Bhagavatam is actually a recent. Usually they'll say it was written in the 6th century. You know this? Yeah, they say it's in the 6th century. But they'll take the Mahabharata a little older. But if you look at the Mahabharata, how do you know how old the Mahabharata is? People say many, many, many different things. But if you look at the Mahabharata itself, it gives times. You know this? Because at those times, they didn't, just like we have, it's January, or it's right now, September 9th, 2023. So they could say that in Mahabharata, but that's not how they measured time. They measured time by the positions of the planets and the lunar mansions, the asterisms we call it, or lunar mansions, or nakshatra. Yeah, nakshatra. And so in the Mahabharata, there's many different descriptions of when the Kurukshetra war took place. These were the planets were in these nakshatras. It's very descriptive. So there was a Indian astronomer in the 6th century who took all these descriptions in the Mahabharata of the places where the planets were in the nakshatras and figured out how long ago the Mahabharata took place, because it was very exclusive. So he came up with 3102 BC as the beginning of Kali Yuga, as the end of the Mahabharata. Yeah. So then if you look at Srimad Bhagavatam, when there was going to be the Kurukshetra war, Lord Balaram, he was a little bit favorable to Duryodhana, and so Lord Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas, not to fight, but so Lord Balaram he decided to go on parikrama, tirtha yatra, right? And so one of the places he went to was Naimisharanya. And there were all these sages there. Now sometimes you think, how many sages were there in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? How many sages? 60,000. Isn't that a little bit excessive?
Yes.
60,000 sages, really? Can you believe that? Why not? How many attendees were there at Woodstock Festival? You have any idea?
Oh, at Woodstock.
Woodstock, the rock concert there. 400,000. 400,000. Okay. And how many go to a football game or a basketball or a baseball game? How many go? 60,000, 70,000, 80,000. Yeah, sure. So the fact, it's not impossible that 60,000 sages, it's wonderful that there were so many people ready to come and attend and hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, just like there were so many people ready to hear Jimi Hendrix, right? No mic. Yeah, so they had this something called Meghavani. You know Meghavani? Meghavani means they're very powerful speaking voice. So they didn't have to have the microphone. Even in the Greek times, they used to have of course they didn't have microphones there, but they had the amphitheater, and they had somebody here who could project their voice. Anyway, 60,000 sages were there, and so after the first 3 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then there's the recognition all these sages have come together. Even nowadays, look, they have this Kumbh Mela. Millions of people come. And even when Srila Prabhupada was traveling through India, and they would have pandal programs, and amazing, thousands and thousands, 10,000 people would show up in just a couple days' notice, just to hear this transcendental knowledge. So this is, quite interesting. So in the beginning, what's this chapter called? This first chapter?
Questions by the sages.
Questions by the sages. Yeah. So, but in the beginning, right at the beginning, the head sage is named Shanakrishi. Yeah, Shanakrishi. So Shanakrishi, in speaking on behalf of the sages, in the beginning, he doesn't start asking questions right away. What does he do?
He glorifies the sages.
Yeah. And why is that? Why does he glorify him? He just wants to butter him up? Is that?
Because that's the etiquette.
It is, yes, it is the etiquette. And even more than that, if you want to, he's giving his qualifications, he's citing the qualifications to speak. Just like, Muktasanga Prabhu did a little bit of an introduction there, right? But so, because, who is this person, this Sutta Goswami? What is his qualification to speak? Why should we listen to him? Who's he? Who are you to tell me what to do, right? That's the attitude that we have in the material world. But so all he has, what are his qualifications to speak? What are some of those qualifications? Well, you remember some of those qualifications, perhaps.
Well, Sutta Goswami was there when Shukdev Goswami was giving
Yes.
the lesson to Parikshit Maharaj.
Yes. Not only that, he said that, and not only that, he was present, but he also learned from Srila Vyasadeva and other sages, and he served them, and he was submissively hearing from them, and he wasn't. If you want to be a good student, you can't just challenge the teacher all the time, but that's the system to follow and try to understand. So he pointed out these things. Not only that, but Sutta Goswami, it says he was free from all vice. Did you remember that part? So that was he was practicing himself. He wasn't not involved in meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, all these things. He learned, and he was fully versed in all these different shastras, the Puranas, the Vedas, the Itihasas, etc. And then it said, he says, because you've been blessed with long life. Do you remember that verse? It was like number 7, I think it is. Because who blessed him with long life? Is it?
Krishna.
Sages.
Good guess, but no. How does he get long life? How did he get long life? You don't remember? So Lord Balaram came, and somebody was sitting on the Vyasasana at that time at Namisharanya, at the elevated seat. Who was that? Ramaharsha. And Ramaharsha, his last name was? Sutta. Yeah. So Ramaharsha, he was puffed up, even though he was a follower of Vyasa. Sutta means he was coming from a mixed marriage. He was coming from a mixed marriage. So ordinarily that might be considered not like Karna was considered, he was also the son of a Sutta, so he was not, considered, maybe he's a little questionable about that, but still he was, because of his qualities, he was accepted as a Kshatriya afterwards, except by Bhishmadev. So Ramaharshan was there sitting on the elevated seat, but because Lord Balaram came in, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he didn't offer any respect, and he just thought, so Lord Balaram executed him right there, assassinated him right there. And that was shocking. All the sages were there. They didn't expect there was going to be a murder. So what did they do? You remember this? What did they do?
They appointed Sutta as their speaker.
Well, but they said, I know you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but we blessed Ramaharshan with long life. Remember this? We blessed Ramaharshan with long life. So what about that? Our blessings will be gone in vain. That's not very good. So he said, oh no. The Balaram said, we'll transfer it to his son. Sutta Goswami is the son of Ramaharshan. So the son doesn't always follow the father, always in this case, right? So therefore he was blessed with long life. So all that description about the wonders of Sutta Goswami and how he was submissive to his teachers and how he was fixed in good behavior and all are to give us faith that he can actually tell us the truth. Because everybody in this material world has some kind of angle or spin that they want to put on us for their own purposes. I brought some things here. What does that say?
Lies my teacher.
Lies. Very interesting book. Very interesting book. Lies my teacher told me. Yeah. Listen, this is just in the element of history, right? A lot of history is there. And then, let's see, oh.
Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. And here we have this book here.
Darwin.
Yeah, so there's many things that we learn, and here we are in this learning institution, right? This is a learning center, we're supposed to learn. So, but some of the things we learn, a lot of the things we learn, are not true.
Yeah, nice.
It's not true. So how do you know, how can you trust the information that you get? How can you trust that?
Only if he's a pure devotee.
You have to get it, yes, you have to get it from a trustworthy source. There's if you've ever been to the CIA, has anybody been to CIA headquarters?
No.
You don't want.
Okay. You walk into the CIA headquarters and it says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Did you know that? That's what it says. There's this big thing. Yeah. But actually, the governments all over the world, not just America, all governments, they lie to the citizens. They do. Because they have a particular purpose. What is their purpose? To control us. For what purpose? Well, to make us good citizens, blah, blah, blah. But, actually when there was some exposure of the events that were during the Iraq War, they had digital arrangements so they could intercept everybody's cell phone messages and text messages and cell phone talk, So they call it total information awareness. Total information awareness results in total control. Total, full spectrum control and dominance. Okay, that's the purpose, right? The purpose. They want to keep us under. Yeah. So does Sutta Goswami want to keep his people under control? No. So this is the, if you want to get the truth, you have to go to a good source. And there's so much propaganda out there that it's very, very difficult to get a good, reliable source of information that's going to tell you the way it really is. So all that information at the beginning about Sutta Goswami's qualities and qualifications is to help us understand. It's also as etiquette, it's also to appreciate, but it's also to help reinforce the idea that this person is a source of really accurate, verifiable, perfect information. Oh, that's wonderful. So then this particular verse is part of that sequence. So it says, "O Sutta, now that you remember the verse? You remember the verse?"
No.
Well,
9th verse.
no, it's 15th verse. 15th verse. Yes, can you read it? Bunya Prashamavena Sadyat Punanti Upashprishta Svardhanyopi Nuseva. Yeah. So, you're so powerful. It says you're more powerful than the Ganges. Is that offensive?
No.
Is that offensive? I thought the Ganges water is coming directly from Lord Krishna's lotus feet, and how can you say that Sutta Goswami is more powerful than the Ganges? Is there any evidence of that? Is there any evidence of that?
He's a
He is the absolute truth.
But the Ganges is also is coming from the lotus feet of Krishna. What's the evidence that?
He's already having tirthas.
Huh?
He's he's having Lord in his heart. So he's already a tirtha, pure devotee.
So yeah, there is evidence. Tirti kurvanti tirtani. So when the Ganges, Bhagirath and his ancestors were doing austerities to get the Ganges to come to the earth. You remember that? And so the Ganges had some reservations. Mother Ganges, the goddess of the control of the Ganges. She wasn't water, but she was controlling the water. She wasn't water. Mother Ganges isn't the water, but it's the controller of the water. She had two reservations. One reservation was she said, well, I've got powerful water is going to come down. It's going to inundate the earth. What's going to happen with that? So Bhagirath made an arrangement for
Lord
Shiva to take the Ganges. And then she said, but there's going to be all these people who are going to have their sinful reactions, all these, and they're going to try to get purified by taking a bath in my water, and they'll deposit their sins in my waters, and I'll become contaminated. She said. You remember this?
Yes.
And so what was Bhagirath's response?
He said that when a pure devotee of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna will take a bath, he will purify.
Yes.
The Lord.
When the great devotees come and bathe, then they'll take away, they'll purify. So even they are, therefore, it's Tirti Kurvanti Tirtani was the verse. Tirti Kurvanti Tirtani. Even the pure devotees purify the holy places like the Ganges. So this is consistent with all that information we had before. So this is really, really wonderful. And then he said it, not just that they purify after a long time, but sadhya. Sadhya means immediately. Immediately they can purify. Wow. Whereas Ganges takes a while, but immediately. Is that possible? Does that happen? Do we see that happen? How does it happen? It says, just by taking shelter of the pure devotee, immediately you can get purified. Wow. You know what that's called? Diksha. Initiation. That's called initiation. Yeah. Do you have any specific examples? You might have specific examples of that taking place. I don't know if you know. Maybe in your own life you experienced it. Or, yeah.
One of the Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, in memory, Srila Prabhupada memories,
Yes.
His disciple was sharing with us that in New York, when the initial stages, when Srila Prabhupada was walking on the footpath, on the other side, so the devotee was walking on the other side, just by seeing Srila Prabhupada, he didn't even come in touch with Srila Prabhupada, but just by seeing him, Srila Prabhupada was so resplendent that this person wanted to become,
He did become, yes.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
What is his name?
Hari Griva.
I agree. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, and you might remember, so they used to do the kirtan in Tompkins Square Park. Have you been to Tompkins Square Park, anybody? Yeah. So anyway, they would sit down and have a little kirtan there, and you see Brahmananda might get up and dance a little bit. But you see in the Lilamrit and stuff, there's so many devotees just came and they heard the kirtan and they saw Srila Prabhupada and they got boom. I thought that's really quite amazing. And if we go back to Lord Chaitanya's Leela here, Lord Chaitanya, they have in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's the branches of the Chaitanya tree. So there are many branches. Big branches. This big trunk is, this Advaita Nityananda. But then here's a little description of the 77th branch. The 77th branch, not the first 10, not the 20, the 77th branch of Lord Chaitanya's tree. Okay, the 77th branch was the name Thakur Sharangadas, also known as Shanga Thakur. He was a resident of Navadvip in a neighborhood known as Modadrum Dweep. There's 9 islands, one of them is Modadrum Dweep. And he used to worship the Supreme Lord, Chaitanya, in a secluded place on the bank of the Ganges. He didn't accept disciples, but he was repeatedly being inspired from within by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do so. Thus, one morning he decided, whoever I see first, I shall make my disciple. So he went to take the bath in his Ganges that day. By chance, what did he see? What's that? A dead body floating in the water. And he touched it with his feet. This immediately brought the body to life. And he accepted that person as his disciple. And that disciple later became famous as Thakur Marari and became a great devotee. So that's, very interesting, right? Very interesting. These things go like that. So this is, we're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the Amalam Purana. And in this particular verse, we're learning about the importance of the activities and teachings and the personality of the great devotee. So then the question might be, does, what about Srila Prabhupada's pastimes? Are they, is it kind of like just kind of a sentimental thing to like to read Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, or where do they fit into the realm of devotional scripture, if it does? Huh?
He struggled so much.
Yeah, does it? But is it like, now, if we're really serious, do we study Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but we don't study Srila Prabhupada's pastimes? It's good. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada was asked one time, is Joan of Arc in the Srimad Bhagavatam? You know who Joan of Arc is? You know who Joan of Arc is? Was Joan of Arc in the Srimad Bhagavatam? And you know what his response was? Guess what his response was?
Yes.
Yes, you should have said yes.
He said, qualified this, he said, if she is a devotee, she is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what he said. If she's a devotee, she's in. So, because the actions of a great devotee, what is the Srimad Bhagavatam? The actions of devotees, right? In relation to Krishna. Yeah, that's it. So, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he was questioned by Yamaraj in the form of a crane, Yaksha Prashna, so he said, how can you understand religion? And he said, Dharmasya, so Yudhishthira Maharaj says, Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhaya mahajano jena gathasapanta. I have to understand really religion. It's hard because the religion is hidden in the heart of the great souls. And if you want to understand it, you got to follow in their footsteps. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhaya mahajano jena gathasapanta. Follow in the footsteps. So it's really, along with Lord Chaitanya wanted us to study Srimad Bhagavatam, he wanted to study Bhagavad Gita, and we've got the great, wonderful opportunity and treasure that we can study the applied Srimad Bhagavatam just a few years ago in the life of Srila Prabhupada. And it's a really, really wonderful opportunity that we have. So we should do all those things. Not that we should do one but not the other, but all those things. It's a wonderful opportunity because, as mentioned here, is that the pure devotee is actually as good as God. So that means if God has pastimes, then the pure devotee's pastimes are as good. Why? Because he is intimately connected and dear to God. Sakshad haritvena samasta shastri uktas tata bhavyata eva shadvi. All the Shastras say so, and even the saints say so. Why? Kintu praborya priya eva tasya. Because he's very dearly connected with God. So it's a wonderful opportunity. This is a really nice program you're having here. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I could see that it's, you got spiritual merit here. Some it's going. I can feel it. It's great. It's great. It'll develop. I can tell that. It's very nice. You're doing a good job here. Thank you. And Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada, and Sutta Goswami, they'll all be pleased by your activities here, studying the Srimad Bhagavatam too. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Oh, I took too long.
We are very grateful to you, Prabhu, for coming and
Keep coming.
giving it, please.
We had some fun. Yeah, it's fun. The Srimad Bhagavatam is like, so we were talking about Ramaharsha and Sutta, then Sutta Goswami took over, right? So if Srimad Bhagavatam is so recent, then how is it that it starts right after the Mahabharata? See, you got Ramaharsha Sutta, then Sutta Goswami. He's the speaker. That's right after the finishing Mahabharata, right there. So, scholars have different ideas. They're from mundane parts, but we accept the view of the acharyas. This is right after Mahabharata. Sutta Goswami spoke. After how old was Lord Krishna and Arjuna at the time of the Mahabharata war?
80.
129.
Yeah, close, yeah. Srila Prabhupada said he was not less, not less than 90, Lord Krishna, not less than 90. I heard one time he said 85, but not less than 90, he said one time. Okay, so the Mahabharata war, then when did Parikshit Maharaj, when was he born?
just when the Mahabharata war ended.
Yeah, because that
He
was
was in
right
the
after.
tomb of Uttara.
Yeah. So right after that. So then Lord Krishna stayed another until 125, so that's another 35 years. So then the Pandavas left, right? Krishna left, the Pandavas left. And so then Parikshit Maharaj was another maybe 25 years after that. And so then after Parikshit, that was when Sutta Goswami was there. Sutta Goswami was there hearing Parikshit Maharaj talk hear from Shukdev Goswami. So then this Sutta Goswami, here in the second recitation, full recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, was not that many years later after Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj were hearing and chanting the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's very, very early, not 6th century AD, no. It's very, these things, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Can you elaborate a little bit more, Prabhu?
On what?
Talk a little bit more of this.
It's time.
Another 5 minutes or 7 minutes.
You have to ask a question. I wanted to say something about because what's the title of this chapter?
Questions by the
Questions by the sages. Yeah. So, but one thing you can throw you off a little bit is because the actual questions. Anybody ever watch Jeopardy?
Yes.
What's the thing about Jeopardy? You got to ask it in the form of a question, right?
Yes.
But the question is a question mark at the end. But in this chapter, the questions aren't all with a question mark at the end. They're inquiries, they're requests. Yeah, for what purpose Lord Krishna appeared as this in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva. That's not a question. There's not a question mark at the end, but it's a request for tell us about it. And then so there's 6 questions. Actually, Srila Prabhupada didn't itemize these 6 questions that I know of, but other acharyas have. And the first question is something about you tell us what is the absolute and ultimate good for all the people. You tell us that. Some other questions?
Yes. What is the essence of the Vedas?
Bhurini bhuri karmani shotavyani vibhagasha atakshadhocha yatsaram shamodita manishya bruhi badraya bhutanam yenat mahasuprasiditi. There's so many scriptures, and all of them, there's so many duties you got to do, and how are you going to get all that? But you take the essence of all those and explain them so that our hearts will be satisfied. The purpose is the heart that will be satisfied, right? And then there's the Sutta Jana. Then why did Krishna come along with? That's good. Yeah. And then tell us about his pastimes. So sometimes they break that down into the pastimes of creation and the other pastimes. Boom, 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 which will include Lord Chaitanya's pastimes is also not different than Srimad Bhagavatam, and Srila Prabhupada's pastimes not different. And then the final question of the 6 questions.
Where did Dharma took shelter?
Bruhi Yogeshware Krishna. Now that Krishna's gone, where are the religious principles? Where are religious principles sheltered? Where are they sheltered? And so, initially, there's each one of those questions. There's a very brief answer given. Just like when they give history classes, they give you like a little bit, and then later, if you want to, you get the more detailed. Yeah. So there's a brief answer, and then the whole Srimad Bhagavatam in various places is the developed answer of all those questions. So brief. And why do you do that? Because we got short memories and short lives. We may get, but also because by doing it that way, it helps us to remember. Just like you make. How do you remember things? You make little codes or little things. You jot down the main topics. Okay, I'll remember this, that way. So that way we remember, we can understand it in brief, and we can understand it in depth also. Both help us. So the question that Bruhe Yogeshware Krishna Dharma, where's religion take shelter of? What was the answer to that question? Yes, Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna svadhamo pagate dharma jnana adibisa kalanasta dishamesha purana kodinori. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the place where after Krishna left he gave this religious shelter for us. Thank you, Hare Krishna. I went on 5 minutes for you.
For question answers, we use this.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a question here.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
You want to say?
So, thank you very much, Prabhu, to hear very in-depth. Very nice. We would like to have you quite often here.
Please do
Thank
come
you.
quite
Please,
often. So
Prabhu,
we will
yes.
get
You can
inspired.
block Saturdays for us.
Please do come. Don't hesitate to come.
Let's go with online devotees first.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I have a question. Haribol. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Yes.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very nice class. Mulidhar Keshavadas. Okay. My question is like, as you said, like, as the Ganges, we take bath in the Ganga, as it is a holy river. So one of the holy river is also Yamuna. So are we allowed to take bath in Yamuna as well?
Yes. Yes. But we're not allowed to take birth at Radha Kunda. Take bath in Radha Kunda. You know why?
That is for
That's for really elevated souls.
Yeah.
When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went there, he would only take water and put it in his head. And Srila Prabhupada, when he went there, he would only take the water and put it in his head. But Jamuna, Ganga, everybody takes bath. It's okay. That's the...
I have other questions. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Because I had that doubt whether we are also, because Lord Krishna also used to bathe in Yamuna. So, is this the same? Because I just said, like, Radha Kund, because it's a Krishna's very, very beautiful pond. So Yamuna was also very dear to him. So I had question.
Why is the difference? Yeah. So because Radha Kunda was particularly for very intimate Madhurya Lila pastimes of Krishna. Just like, I think I mentioned to you that there's some literatures that are Radha Krishna related, like Krishna Karnamrita by Krishna Karnamrita by Bilva Mangala Thakur. Anyway, it's very intimate information, very intimate discussion of Radha Krishna. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in his earlier days, he said he wanted to have to print that Krishna Karnamrita and publish it. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his father and spiritual preceptor, said, no, you don't do that. But he kind of insisted. So finally Bhaktivinoda Thakur agreed. You print it, but you can only print one copy for yourself. That's it, nobody else. Because it's so intimate and elevated. So, for the intimate people, so taking bath at Radha Kunda is like studying the pastimes of the gopis and rasa dance for people who are not elevated to that position. It's a dangerous thing to do.
Okay. Yeah. The other question which I had is, as we see, like, when we were talking about Srila Prabhupada, like how people were just by associating with him, they were, they become pure devotees. When he even walking in the streets in the New York. So, but before that, like he also tried it in India. In India, in Jhansi, I believe, in Jhansi, he had the League of Devotees. In India, it didn't work. How we should understand that?
Someone has to be open to it. Like Srila Prabhupada used to often say that to associate with a devotee, a bug may be on the leg, but the bug may not get the, so to associate means to actually hear and to be open to understanding, to appreciate, and to be ready to do some service. And that's mentioned in this verse also, that to take shelter means to be ready to do open to do service.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else online? Okay. So anyone else here? No, go. Everybody should hear your question.
Does he go through here?
No question. It's not going to comment.
Oh, comment is good.
In regards of Muralidhar Kishore Prabhu question, Prabhupada says in few lectures, in a Western country, people, they were very receptive and very, they were not offensive. That's why it worked out and they accepted. But in India, in the beginning, devotee were not like Western devotee. They were totally sold out. They were totally surrendered to Srila Prabhupada, and they were not offensive at all. That's why they accepted, and it worked out.
At least some, at least many, yeah. Sometimes we were offensive, yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Here, right here.
Prabhu, after reading all the Bhagavatam, how do we understand the scripture and how do we apply this to our daily life? It's very difficult sometimes. I'm almost 70. I think I'm older than you or anybody.
No, you're not older.
Over 70. So, how do I apply these things to my daily life? How do I become more mature in the practices, more knowledgeable, go towards Krishna, and I love Srila Prabhupada. That's the only person I really, next to my father, he's the only person I have. So, how do I apply these principles, what I'm reading? Sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah, in this purport particularly, it said to taking shelter of Krishna means to take shelter of the pure devotee. So, for that is to take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
Now in this day and age, Prabhu, how do you know who is the pure devotee?
That you study. In any day and age, you study. This Vedic system was for the student and the spiritual teacher, the guide. Both of them should study each other for 1 year to make sure that they're not cheating anybody. The student could be a cheater, the guru could be a cheater. So you study carefully for a year before, and you try to follow. And then you ask questions. So there's tadvidhi pranipatini pariprashnini. Prashna is what?
Question.
And what's pariprashna? Pariprashna.
Again and again.
Like parikrama means going around. So all kinds of questions. Yeah, you ask. What about this? What about that? What about this? Yeah, but you're ready not in a challenging spirit, but to try to understand. Try to understand. Sometimes we ask questions and we challenge, but something because spiritual life is not always readily understandable. Sometimes it takes a little bit of thought and pondering and thinking carefully. And so for that, so let's hear, let's consider, let's try to understand how that works. So that happens. But and Srila Prabhupada requested everybody, all of us, to chant Hare Krishna daily, every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Ram, Hare Hare. That's an essential part of it. And then worship of Krishna, worship of the Guru, and offering all of you do this, I'm sure you do, offering all your food, Yat Karoshi, Irajnasi, Jehosi, Dadasi, Tapasisi Kaunteya, Tapkurushamada. These are all things. And even, really, just like today, this is fun because we're associating with devotees. Hey, that's fun. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koya, Lava Mantra, Sadhu Sangha, Shadi Sarva Siddhya. Because when you associate with, among other like devotees, as Vaishnavas, who are interested in spiritual life, then it sparks your interest and your enthusiasm to go back to Godhead and to develop too. So this is like, you came here today, that's very wonderful. Good, very good. But keep doing that. Oh, he gave you a special invitation. Okay, good. So this is
because Krishna's grace.
One time, Srila Prabhupada was, in the days when Srila Prabhupada would come, maybe he'd come once a year in a temple. So he came, and then at the way he was leaving, he was leaving from JFK Airport, and they had a terminal building. So a lot of devotees would try to go and be with him as he was waiting in the terminal for his flight. So we were there, and so sitting, Srila Prabhupada was sitting, and he said, bring a picture. And so they had a picture of Radha Krishna, so they put it on the table next to him, and he said, does anybody have some incense? And somebody had incense, and they put it in, stuck it in a banana, So he said, now have kirtan. He said, here we have a temple. Here we have a temple, and we have devotees, and this is the spiritual life. Very simple, not very complicated. So, I mean, that works. That works.
Very fortunate.
One of the incidents I remember of Prabhupada.
Yes.
Visit United Nations, he was giving a lecture to a bunch of scientists and ecologists and everybody in United Nations.
Oh yeah, I don't know this.
And that time some scientist raised a hand and asked him a question, saying, can chanting your Hare Krishna would solve the world's ecology problem? It usually like he starts, I don't know what kind of question is asked by these rascals, because this whole world was so beautiful, so attractive. That's how God created this world. You spoiled it, now you are asking whether Krishna can solve the problem. Yes, he can solve the problem. If you were chanting Hare Krishna, you would have never spoiled this temple. So yes, if you never chanted, chant now. So at least you will stop polluting the world.
Yeah. Thank you. Haribol. Question here. It's fun running around.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. You mentioned that Balram, he went to the Naimisharanya.
Yes.
But then, how is that connected to the 60,000 sages?
Because those Naimisharanya, they were doing a 1,000-year sacrifice.
Oh, so the same sages
Yes,
were there
many of them
from
were the
then.
same. Yeah, many of them were the same. Or they could have been, some could have dropped out, of course, You see, like in the beginning, it says they did their morning duties and all stuff. But they were prepared. They were just like, people are, they used to have, in the 1940s, marathon dances. Do you ever know this?
Mm-hmm.
So you could see how long they could dance for, they dance for 3, 4, 5 days and stay up dancing. You know this?
Yeah.
But they didn't do this in India. No, it was only in Asia. This was to do a sacrifice, and to do a long-term sacrifice, people would take a vow. They do the Satya Sankalpa, they take a vow, they're going to do it. So it says, Sahasra Samamasata, for 1,000 years. That was their vow to take. So in the Dvapara Yuga, they had a longer duration of life, and those people who were participating in the sacrifice, they got particular blessings that they would have a longer duration of life. As long as the sacrifice and the kata was going on, Yamaraj wasn't going to take him. It's mentioned there. So it's very nice. So yeah, they could. So Dvapara Yuga was 1,000. Even though Bhishmadev was in, he was a senior there, right? How long did Bhishmadev live?
800 years.
800. Long time. Even in the Bible, you'll find in the Bible that there's different sections, but in the Old Testament, you had people living 900, 800 years in there, in the previous ages. And there was a historian, one of the early historians, early Greek historian, a Roman historian, I think it was, I forget his name, but he commented that, all these people, all the historians previously, they noted that all the people previously had long durations of life, and he said, you shouldn't doubt this, because it was accepted by all of them. So we're thinking, now we're going to live 100 years, we're very old. But previously it was not at all unusual from previous histories. What's that? Jambuvan, yeah, Chiranjeeva, yeah. And even there was somebody named Lila Shuka who was Bilvamangala Thakur. Oh, did you ever hear, here's a funny one. Trilanga Shami, anybody ever heard Trilanga Shami? Yes. You know Trilanga Shami? He was in Benares. Yeah, Benares. So he was a Kali Bhakta. But he had some yogic powers. He was living for at least 300 years. And he used to walk around naked. And the police used to arrest him, and they put him in jail, and then he'd be out. Somehow, nobody knows how he would come out, because he had some mystic powers. Yeah. And he was living several hundred years.
There was another saint, Devaraha Baba. I recently heard Srimati Indira Gandhi's grandfather visited him. Jawaharlal Nehru visited him. Indira Gandhi visited, Rajiv Gandhi visited.
Yeah, so there's certain so we say that Vyasadeva was a disciple of Lord Krishna, prior to Lord Krishna also, but Madhvacharya went to visit him twice in the Samyaprasa Bhadradikashram, Samyaprasam, it's a little beyond Bhadradikashram. So that's not possible. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Is it okay? We are getting little delayed because some ladles are missing, so we are going to get that ladles.
Oh, okay.
So till we get those ladles, we have time.
Okay.
So another 10 minutes.
Okay.
At least. So, so as soon as we see, so say in case of initiation, they give 1 year or 1.5 year gap, so that it was advised to me that the aspiring devotee can take some time to analyze the spiritual master. At the same time, spiritual master can analyze the devotee. So there's 1 year or 1.5 years gap. But as soon as we see a pure devotee, immediately what is the immediate qualities by which we ascertain that he's a pure soul and we have to surrender to him? There should be some qualities, right? Because we don't analyze. As soon as you see he's a pure devotee, as soon as the sages they saw Sutta Goswami, then they surrendered.
Well, I don't know that. I don't know that as soon as they saw they knew his background. They're talking in this first chapter. They're talking about his background, that he was a disciple of Vyasadeva. How do they know that? But they had done some investigation.
It was Shaunaka Rishi was telling that.
Yes.
Not the sages, right? Sages.
Oh, he was one of the sages. Shaunaka is one of the sages. He's the representative of all the sages, but he's talking for them. So they put him up because he was one of these chief. Yeah. So he said, and I know that you're strictly following. You're not anaga. Anaga means you're sinless and all these things. So he had done some investigation. Sometimes, rarely, it might happen that there's some kind of, from a previous life or something, one might have some kind of like connection like that. But usually it's not. Usually it's by,
Like in case of Hayagriva Prabhu. He saw
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada, then
Yeah.
immediately decided to surrender to him, right?
Yeah.
So there's like a movement.
But usually it's by mutual understanding and testing a little bit. Still, I agree, but still did some testing even afterwards.
Is it?
Oh yeah, sure. Everybody, all this, not just in India, but in the United States, we say Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarani. What's that mean? Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya. What does that mean? Nirvishesha means voidism. Shunyavadi means, Nirvishesha means impersonalism. Shunyavadi means voidism. So they were very much schooled in impersonalism also. That's why, like in 1970, when Srila Prabhupada they had a meeting in New Vrindavan, and Brahmananda started preaching impersonal philosophy. You know this? It's in the Devotee. All the devotees from all over the movement had come. It was mostly in America.
Kirtananda was there, no?
Yeah. Kirtananda, but so he first started to say that Srila Prabhupada was God himself, and that he had gone to India to reject his disciples, and it was during a meeting during the Janmashtami in Vrindavan. So everybody became freaked out. But what is this philosophy? But so they called Srila Prabhupada, or they didn't call him. They wrote him, and Prabhupada said, "This is the influence of this Nirvishesha Shunyavadi." So it took. Yes, sir.
Prabhuji, we always hear that Srila Prabhupada disciples, they were sent by Krishna to assist and help Srila Prabhupada. What about the grand disciples, second generation?
Yeah. Well, on one hand, we accept in ISKCON that everybody is a disciple in a sense of Srila Prabhupada being as the Shiksha Guru for everybody. And sometimes you'll find that the second generation after Prabhupada are more advanced than us Prabhupada disciples. It happens. Yeah. So I don't differentiate too much. Still there's the etiquette of the senior and the junior, but still, yes. You are also sent by Srila Bhakti. He would say you were sent not by Krishna, but by his spiritual master, by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, to assist. Yeah, so yeah, you are. You are. Yes, you are.
Anybody else?
Right now,
Eh,
first of all, we are not experts or anything. How will we know, right now in the practical world, how will we know who is a pure devotee? Is it implied that based on the parampara, they are in that authority because they are pure devotees? Can we? I don't know, if somebody asks us a question, I don't know. But,
That's a very, very important question. And ISKCON, the institution of ISKCON, struggled with that question mightily after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. After Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left, Srila Prabhupada said that no one was appointed as the successor Acharya. He said that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta ordered all of his disciples to work together conjointly to continue the movement, to preach together, and over time a self-realized, self-effulgent person would come forward. But he didn't appoint anyone. But several people came forward and said we were appointed. Actually, even to this day, even to this day, if you go to different websites of different Gaudiya maths, they'll say that so and such person was appointed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, such and such person was appointed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. There were two main branches that said they were appointed. But Srila Prabhupada said, no, the guru or the acharya is never an appointed or elected position, no. It's by realization and by purity. So that's, you have to, just like if you buy a diamond, if you don't know what a diamond is, you're going to get cheated, right? The Swarna jewelers, of course, they know very well. Yeah. So it's required to study. We can, at least you have to know, they're following these basic principles, that they're teaching. Do they teach in the parampara? Are they disciplined and strict in their sadhana? All these things. Do they have realization? And can they inspire you to engage in devotional service? These things are really good indicators. They're very good indicators. Ultimately, it's Krishna knows. Krishna knows ultimately. The way it is in ISKCON now is they, right after Prabhupada left, they said there were 11 appointed acharyas. You know that? Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yes. So, for me, it's a big thing because I don't think Prabhupada appointed anybody just like because he did things according to, just like his guru did.
Yeah.
So he didn't deviate. If you study what Prabhupada did, it's like everything is right in line, my God, with what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta did. So why would he change this big thing? I don't think he did. But anyway, there were some decisions made that he had appointed certain people. Just because they say that the people say they were appointed doesn't mean they were disqualified. But I don't think he didn't appoint them. So what was the point?
how do we know?
That's the argument of group of people which makes them different than the ISKCON.
Yeah. So Prabhupada didn't appoint. I was going to say that. So actually, anybody go to the Sadhu Sangha before that thing? Yeah, you've been to Sadhu Sangha. Right? You went to North Carolina. Yeah. Anyway, so I was asking old Prabhupada disciples, Jai Devata Swami, Jai Devata Swami. Yeah. He's like the old. So I said, do you think that did Srila Prabhupada appoint? He said, no, Prabhupada. Even though if you read certain literatures and stuff, it seems that way. It might seem that way, but no. Most of the older devotees, they don't accept that. So it's not by appoint, but by actual activity, purity. You have to examine and follow what they say, follow what their teachings, stuff like that. Do they chant?
Prabhupada says in a simple way, he says in many lectures, those who are 24 hours engaged in the service of Krishna,
Yes.
in terms of anya vilasita sunya.
Yes. Sure, that's pure devotion. Yeah, yeah, good.
Srila Prabhupada is like that. In many memories, many Western Matajis, especially, it's there on the YouTube, they say, we never saw Srila Prabhupada and we were waiting for many, many years. But the day we saw Srila Prabhupada, tears started coming from our eyes and we were trembling, shaking and choking because Prabhupada is Srila Prabhupada is pure devotee.
You got a good point about the anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadinam, or also in the Bhagavad Gita, tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tammi. So we saw, you could examine Srila Prabhupada, what was he doing? You know, he was sitting there, he was translating every day. He would get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and translate for 3 hours and chant japa, then go on a morning walk. See, you can go and you can hear those morning walks. I got to go on one morning walk. One morning walk. And then they would have class, and then they would take prasadam, then they would have darshan, then they would... It was like, that was it. Service all the time. And not only service, it wasn't like he was gritting his teeth, but he was, enjoying, and spiritually enjoying, service to Krishna the whole time. It was wonderful.
He slept hardly 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
And I being a long time in Mayapur and Bombay, I have realized one thing, what a system policy Srila Prabhupada introduced, like Mangalarati.
Yeah.
There is so much potency in that, so much potency. We were New Bhakta, in a New Bhakta program in Mayapur. Till today, I feel and I remember how nice it was, even though Srila Prabhupada was not there at that time. So that the policy, that the system he has given by his realization,
yes,
that is so effective.
Yes. Very good point. Yeah. So his institution is that he said the institution is the shadow of the man, the person. Yeah. So this he did this is all. Yeah. This is all. Prabhupada still present in his as. And it's kind of, we get off a little bit sometimes, but,
All that is mentioned in the disciple course.
Yeah.
How Prabhupada is.
Yeah.
We will get our result.
Prabhu, I think after Srila Prabhupada, he is a realized soul. I don't think, I hear that we don't have any pure devotees now.
I wouldn't say that. Pure devotee, if you examine it carefully, pure devotee, there's a pure devotee. There were, when Lord Chaitanya went to Benares, he stayed at the home of Chandrasekhar Vaidya. He was a Vaidya, not a Brahmin, but a Vaidya. And he also would visit Tapan Mishra, who was the father of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. And he would stay there. And they had problems because there were so many Mayavadis there, and they couldn't defeat them. So Prabhupada says in the purport that they were pure devotees, but they weren't very advanced. He actually says Kanishta, but they were pure devotees. So pure devotee is a sign of what's in your heart, but you may not have much spiritual realization. So a pure devotee can be a Kanishta Adhikari, can be a pure devotee, a Madhyama Adhikari can be a pure devotee, or a Uttama Adhikari can be a pure devotee. But so Srila Prabhupada once said, all my disciples are pure devotees. We're not. Of course, we're not at a high level of realization, but still, if we're actually doing the service for Krishna's pleasure, not for our own, some kind of our own point. So he said that.
As long as you follow 4 principles, chant all the time, and follow the scripture, you are part of the path.
He said it's like if you get on a boat. The boat can, sometimes if the waves go, the boat can, but if you stay, you follow those principles and you chant your rounds up, you stay on the boat, you're still on the boat, you're going back to Godhead like that. Yes?
Rupa Goswami said in Nectar of Devotion, even though you're not pure devotee, but if you have desire to become pure devotee, you're aspiring to become pure devotee, Krishna will recognize that. Probably, I'm not sure. Krishna Prabhupada says this also, that in ISKCON, all the devotees are pure devotees? I don't know.
I never heard that. But he said, but he once at least once said that he said all when questioned about it, he said all my disciples are pure devotees. He said that. So at that time, I mean, everybody's but they would be in ISKCON or not, I don't know. Yeah.
All ISKCONites are pure devotees.
I wanted to say a couple of things too. Also, do you have that book, I'll Build You a Temple?
Yes, yes.
It's a really good book.
By Giriraj Maharaj?
Giriraj Maharaj, yeah, because it's a little different, different than most of the biographies of Srila Prabhupada, because most of the biographies of Srila Prabhupada are about like 26 Second Avenue in America in the early days. But this one is about Srila Prabhupada pushing on Krishna consciousness in India, which is unique. I mean, details about it, there's some details, but this is like the whole thing. How he dealt with, troubles and difficulties and challenges and, Dr. Sethi. You know who Dr. Sethi is? Dr. Sethi was the person who helped Srila Prabhupada get permissions to build the temple in Bombay. Yeah. So last year at the Tawako Rath Yatra, you know who I met?
His son.
Dr. Sethi's son, yeah. He was there. And he was telling me about Srila Prabhupada, and he was just crying. He said, this was the best time of my life. He was the one who, they were trying to smash they had a temporary temple there, and they were trying to, the city people, the Gundas, hired by Dr., what was his name? Nayak. Yeah, so he, in the morning time, Dr. Sethi and his son were there with a shotgun. And the Gundas came. They said, how many are you there? Oh, you got 20? Okay. You're going to need a few more because I've got 50 bullets here. So that they left. They left. They couldn't finish the work. Yeah.
Dr. Sethi and his wife, they used to come every Sunday and Ekadasi. I used to be Pujari, I used to give them Gokuram and everything.
Yes.
They'll bring so much fruits. And when Srila Prabhupada used to go to their house when Prabhupada was there. From that time onwards, Mr. Sethi he got some Brajvasi people and he organized 24-hour
Yes.
Till today it happens. And once in a year, he invites all the devotees and he gives such a huge prasadam for everyone.
Yeah.
And because of Prabhupada, he changed his house name and he made Vrindavan.
Yeah, devotees are wonderful. Wonderful. So how Prabhupada changed his, Prabhupada, he came to see Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada asked him, so what do you do, what is your regular day? He said, well, I get up, I eat my breakfast, I eat my eggs and this and that, and Prabhupada said, Srila Prabhupada could say this, we can't say this. So he said, what's the difference between you and a pig? Dr. Sethi. And it shocked him. It shocked him, and then he became very serious. So there was another time, and it's not, if you can read it in the Lilamrita, but the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, when Srila Prabhupada came to Philadelphia, I think I've told this story. He came to Philadelphia. Ravinda Swarupa Prabhu was the temple president in 1975 when they had the first big Rath Yatra in Philadelphia. And he was going to Temple University, and he brought a Temple University professor, a religion professor, to see Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was there in his darshan room, and Swarup Damodar, the scientist Swarup Damodar Prabhu, was there. So the man came in, and they said, they said, Srila Prabhupada, this is a professor of religion. And Srila Prabhupada said, oh, very nice. So tell me about religion. Tell me what your understanding of religion. And the person said, I can't tell you that. You tell me what religion is, he says. So Prabhupada turned to Swarup Damodar and said, what is this? A religion professor who can't tell me what religion is? And so Swarup Damodar, you know what he said? He said, this is a cheater, Srila Prabhupada. So you were reading this in the Lilamrita, in the Association of Devotees, and a newer devotee. You remember Rubal? Remember Rubal? Rubal, Saudi Arabia. And Rubal got really disturbed. He says, you invite somebody to your house and you insult them? This is not Vedic etiquette. He was really disturbed about it, very disturbed about it. So I said, okay, I hear what you're saying. I understand. Yeah, it's not according to Vedic etiquette. You have to give people nice words. So I said, I bet there's more to the story than that. I bet there's more to the story. So I said, why don't you call up Ravinda Svarup? He was there, and ask him what else, if there's anything. So I was on the phone call too. So he called up Ravindra Svarup, and he said, what about this guy? He said, actually, the guy's name wasn't in the Lilamrita. It's Dr. Patel. It wasn't Dr. Patel. It was Dr. Yadava. Dr. Yadava. Yadava means what? He was in the family dynasty of Krishna. He was Dr. Yadava. And he said that after that happened, he was this Dr. Yadava. He was at the time. He was involved in all kinds of nefarious activities. You know, you can just imagine all kinds of. So, but then shortly thereafter, he was walking nearby in temple, and Dr. Yadava came up to me and said, "How is your guru? How is your guru? Your guru saved me. He saved me because he shocked me so much. I was doing all this bad. He admitted he was doing all this bad, but by that his strong words, he made me stop everything, all that bad stuff." So, you know, etiquette is one thing, but cutting through that and, you know, in shocking the person to become, you know, give up those bad things, that was even more important than the etiquette. So, I mean, we shouldn't try to imitate that. That's a little trouble, that we don't imitate that stuff. And sometimes we try to imitate it. But anyways, that's very, very interesting.
Mataji has one last question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. My question could be very silly, but I still just want to ask. Prabhuji, in some deity forms, we see Lord Krishna as Shyam Sundar Swarup in black form, and in some deities we see in white form, like Radha Sharad Bihari. How do we decide when it's going to be a black form and when it's going to be a white form?
It's up to Krishna. It's up to me. So, I mean, the form is the form is the form is the thing. The color is secondary to that.
Okay.
Because you see Krishna is white or Krishna's that's just but the form is the key. Srimad-Bhagavatam,
In Mayapur, we had an house office, and one of my godbrother, he was preaching to 4 engineers for TUBP. That time TUBP was going to start, so Prabhu had invited few engineers, and one of my godbrother, he's preaching them and telling, if you are not Krishna conscious, then you are going to become in the category of house, dog, rascal, this, that, so many things. So they were like, what is this? So I had to lie to him, and I told him, no, Prabhu is calling me. Just now he called me. He called me and he gave me a message to you. Yes, actually lied to him so that he will stop preaching. And then he went to Prabhu. Prabhu didn't call him. So he comes to me and he didn't call me. So yeah, I lied to you because the way you are preaching, only Prabhupada can do, not you and me. So they went and they complained to Prabhu, who is this guy? He's just telling us, if we don't chant Hare Krishna, then we are rascal, we are donkey, dog, this, that. And he given him a very good class. He told me, you're trying to imitate Srila Prabhupada? Who are you? Don't do this. So I remember that thing.
Yeah.
So
it's not that you can't do it, but you have to be very careful. You have to, Srila Prabhupada knew, he could see the hearts of people and respond appropriately. We can't do that so easily. Sometimes, you know, when you cook a puri in the ghee, sometimes you have to push it down, right? And then it puffs up, right? Yes. So sometimes that's effective. Srila Prabhupada know that, you know, we don't always know that, but you have to be very careful. Should be very careful.
Used to do with a laugh. I mean,
yes,
I say in
yes,
lecture,
yes,
I say this
yes,
people are
yes.
rascal, but they laugh. They smile.
Yes, exactly. They knew his purpose, like we were saying before. Yeah. Good. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Big round of applause. Very grateful, Prabhu, for coming. 1970, I think. 1970 or 69. Prabhu, correct me. I have his picture playing kirtan. You can share that. It's on my phone. I think 1970. Okay.
Who's that?
You.
No, I couldn't be 1970.
No, 1970.
1971 is the
Well, that was when you got initiated. Before initiation, you were still doing kirtan.
No. I came into the temple in March 15th, 1971. and then I got initiated on July 19th, 1971.
Maybe those days, I'll show you, you can correct me, but that is you, very young, playing Mridangam. So I have my phone.
That's in Central Park. Central Park, yeah.
Yeah, so
Maybe a picture from 1971.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'll give it to him. But
Okay.
so it's always good to talk about Krishna's pastime, but it is more glorious to talk about devotees of Krishna, like Srila Prabhupada and Vishnugada Prabhu.
In England, then he came back here.
So it's never ending actually. We don't want to end, but unfortunately we have to end now. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Wonderful. His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. It's prasadam time now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mahaprasade Govinde.
Mahaprasade Govinde.
Nama Brahmane Vaishnave.
Nama Brahmane Vaishnave.
Svalpa Punyavatam Rajan.
Svalpa Punyavatam Rajan.
Vishwaso Naiva Jayate.
Vishwaso Naiva Jayate.
Sharira Vidyaja.
Sharira Vidyaja.
Jodendriyata Heka.
Jodendriyata Heka.
Jiva Fele Vishya Sagare.
Jive Fele Vishya Sagare.
Tara Madhya Jivati.
Tara Madhya Jivati.
Lobhamaya Sudurmati.
Lobhamaya Sudurmati.
Take Jeta Katina Samsare.
Take Jeta Katina Samsare.
Krishna Borodayamay.
Krishna Borodayamay.
Kuribara Jiva Joy.
Karibari Jiva Jai.
Swaprasada Nadilo Bhai.
Swaprasada Nadilo Bhai.
Dei Annamrita Pao.
Dei Annamrita Pao.
Shri Radha Krishna Gunagao.
Radha Krishna Gunagao.
Premedako Shri Chaitanya Nitai.
Premedako Chaitanya Nitai.
Jai Nimai Jai Nitai.
Jai Nimai Jai Nitai.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Jai Krishna Chaitanya.
Prabhu Nityananda.
Prabhu Nityananda.
Shri Advaita Gadadhara.
Shri Advaita Gadadhara.
Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Radha Krishna Mahaprasadam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
You have this?
What is the CD flow?
This is Mahabharata. It's a CD, but then it's people download it. That's the download thing. You don't have that one? This is Avidananda. He'll like it.
Thank you, online devotees. Hari Bol. No prasadam for you, sorry.
From my side.
Wow.